you can, or as I can, to get through all your questions, and we can do some follow-up as well if needed. So with that, I'll hand it off to Anthony. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay, thank you for the intro, Corinne. So my name is Anthony Brauer. I'm the Sustainable Design Director at Gensler in our Los Angeles office, and I'm part of the AIA Committee on the Environment, and it was part of myself and a larger team that kind of put together the sustainability requirements for this year's design awards, and we wanted to walk through some of those with you. Again, this is a very short presentation deck. We really want to focus on Q&A, so I'll kind of go through this quickly, and we want to spend most of our time addressing questions with you all. So quick agenda, we're going to go through the 2030 requirements. We're going to talk about becoming a signatory and submission eligibility, developing an action plan, which is not part of the submission requirements, but I'm going to kind of briefly touch on it, and then some examples of project submission and submission documentation. So to start off, Architecture 2030 is a nonprofit organization. They created and issued the 2030 challenge, and the AIA 2030 commitment is really just a tool to track that challenge. And that's what we're looking for. We kind of made it a standard requirement to be a signatory for the 2030 commitment. Gensler's been a signatory for, I think we just finished a decade of reporting all of our projects every year for the last 10 years to 2030. This last year was over 1.5 billion square feet, representing about 8,000 projects. So I'm actually the person who does all of that work for Gensler. So if I can manage it for 8,000 projects, we're hoping that we can kind of help you guys if you want to do it for a much smaller number of projects. So high level, just walk through some submission basics. We made it a requirement of the design award that if you want to submit for any award at any level, you need to be a signatory of the AIA 2030 commitment. That's required for built and or next submissions. And you can't just say that you're a signatory. You actually have to submit proof that you've gone through the process and you've achieved that signatory status, which is actually easy to do. For most of the built projects, well, what I'm calling projects with metrics, in order to be eligible for an honor status, you need to provide those metrics. And not only do you need to provide the metrics, it'll be part of the submittable form, but it will also asking for a similar proof from the AIA DDX, which is called the Design Data Exchange. We're looking for proof that that was uploaded in AIA's tool. And then projects without metrics. So if you don't have project metrics, or you haven't gotten to a stage, let's say you're submitting a built project and it was a prescriptive approach and there was no energy model and you have no metrics, you're still welcome to submit. But the position right now is we should be modeling all of our projects. It creates for a better informed design. And you can submit for them, but those projects will not be eligible for an honor award. They will be eligible for a merit. And Corinne, I wrote honorable mention. Is that the right terminology for that, that last tier?
It's an honor award.
Well, honor award and merit award, but I thought there was a third.
Citation.
A citation.
Yeah.
So if we'd be eligible for a merit or a citation. Right?
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that earlier.
It's okay. We'll share this deck with everybody through the AIA channel, and I'll make sure that gets fixed before we share the final copy. There are some exemptions. So the first exemption is cityscapes and installations. So urban plans and like outdoor installations or kind of follies, either under built or next. These projects are not going to have energy metrics. You will not be required to provide energy metrics or proof of design data exchange upload for those. Interiors projects, so built projects have less energy metrics to track on the interior side, so we're focusing only on lighting power density for those. And if you are submitting a project that has no conditioned space, so projects without any conditioned space are exempt from metrics requirements and will be eligible for honor consideration. With that said, claiming no conditioned space when there is will be noticed. We're smart like that. So that was a high level. Now I'm going to kind of go through it a little bit more in detail. So again, all submitting firms must be an AIA 2030 signatory. So, firms connected with any project submission must be a signatory of the commitment in order to qualify for submitting an award. We're trying to generate greater awareness of the contribution we have to climate change, and it's really our responsibility to start doing something about it. The 2030 challenge has been around since 2006, and then the 2030 commitment has been around since 2006, and then the aligned 2030 commitment has really provided this roadmap to tracking and understanding reducing GHG emissions. This is an interesting qualification I thought of when I was putting this deck together. If there is more than one architecture firm collaborating together on a single project, both or all three or all four, I doubt there's any of you out there that are kind of 4 architects working together on a single project, all firms that you want mentioned in the award need to be signatories. So there's no, you're a signatory, I'm going to hide behind you. We're looking for everybody to be a signatory here. And becoming a signatory is really not that difficult. It's a very easy process. So the first step is really just signing the commitment letter. The mission of the 2030 commitment is really to support Architecture 2030 Challenge. We want to transform the way the practice of architecture is moving. We want to move more towards a holistic and kind of a firm-wide project-based and data-driven approach. Doing this is really starting to demonstrate your leadership in the industry and puts you on a path of continuous improvement to elevate your practice in your individual firms. So joining the commitment is really a 3-step process. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a personal account at the DDX platform. And again, this is going to be a hyperlink. It'll actually take you, I can link on it right now, but I'm only sharing my Acrobat, so you won't see it. It'll take you to the DDX platform in the AIA 2030 commitment site. Second step is creating or joining your firm. So creating the firm if it doesn't exist in the system, or joining one if the firm is already a signatory and you just need to connect somehow. So this link is actually a video from the AIA showing exactly how to join or create a company. And then the third piece of this is really uploading a commitment letter. And AIA went out of their way to make this as easy as possible. They actually provide a standard boilerplate letter that you can use. You just change a couple of key pieces of information, sign it, upload it, and then you're done. And again, AIA has a video that actually will walk you through where to find this, how to do it. So all of it's basic. And again, you're going to get these hyperlinks when you get this presentation deck. So once you become a signatory and you sign in to the AIA 2030, again, it's called DDX, or Design Data Exchange. You'll probably get dumped into the first page, which will not look like this. It'll be linked, it'll say portfolio. You want to go to the company link, which will then show you this information. This is the documentation we're looking for. If, once you say you're a signatory, there's going to be a little pop-up in Submittable that says, give us your, give us proof of signatory status. So here will be your firm name, your company type, your whoever is the administrative point of contact. In this case, it's me. When you became a signatory. So if you're a new signatory, it'll say 2021. And then it'll show a link to your, we won't get the link because we're just looking for an image, or you can make a PDF of this page. It'll show that you've uploaded your letter, and your action plan, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is optional. The requirement is you need to develop an action plan in the first 6 months. So you don't need an action plan for design award submission, but you will need it moving forward. So again, this is what I was just saying. So this creating a sustainability action plan. So signatories are really asked to document a sustainable action plan within that 6 months of joining. Some of you may already have something like this on hand, and others might need to create one from scratch. Gensler's sustainability action plan that's in the system is no more than a few short pages long. And this is a guide that the AIA has created. It's available on their website. You'll find it when you log in, or I just provided a direct link to it within this presentation. This is actually like a 20 or 30 page document. It gives you everything you need to know to put together a design, a sustainability action plan. Again, not required for design award submissions. This is just information for you to have for those next steps after you submit for a design award. And then the last part is really just reporting projects in the design data exchange. I know a lot of you might look at this process as nothing more than tracking data. And in the beginning, that very well might be the case. The intent of the DDX platform is really to encourage continuous tracking of your projects so that as a collaborative, we are collectively gaining a better understanding of the influence that design has on performance. And a designer who is more informed about the impact of their decisions is going to make better choices. Once you get a project into upload data submitted to the DDX, this is that portfolio. So under the portfolio tab, you'll have a list of projects, and this one you can see I clicked on one of our projects. I'm going to talk about why this is named like this in just a moment. But it says, here's my, this is for a new building. Here's my baseline EUI, my energy use intensity. They give you a target and then what my final EUI was. In this case, there's no rooftop solar or renewable energy on the project. So my target is actually the same as my predicted EUI that my engineer and I would have worked together to develop. And it also lists a little bit of basic information about the project. You don't need to show everything. We're really just looking to see that the project is in the system. Now, I know that some firms have concerns about confidentiality and sharing data of their clients. And I want to let you know now, nobody outside your firm can see any of this information except in aggregate. If somebody goes into the AIA and they want to kind of filter through and look at reports, they can see how office buildings are trending on a global scale, like maybe an average of office building energy use consumption, or single family residential, but only as a big picture. They cannot see your individual data. We actually take that a step further, and we anonymize the name of the project. We give our project number so that someone like me, I can go into the system and find this information, but nobody outside your firm can see anything that I'm showing you on my screen right now. Now you get to see mine, but this is just showing this to you as an example. So the data we're looking for, and you'll see it in this, it's all going to be asked for in the submittable form. For buildings, we're asking for EUI. So EUI is energy use intensity. It's in its most simple form. It's the total amount of energy required to operate the building divided by the square footage of the building. The unit is kBTUs per square foot per year. We're actually looking for raw EUI data. We can get into that probably in the Q&A if anybody needs to know what that is, difference between raw or time dependent valuation. But I have a little chart that will hopefully alert you if an engineer gives you the wrong, not the wrong, but a different type of calculation. So we're going to stay here for a few minutes. So this is actually a list of a select number, a group of different project types, from fast food restaurants to laboratories to inpatient hospitals, and what that range is of an EUI that you probably will be hitting. So the type of use that's associated to the building makes a huge difference in how much energy you're expected to spend. Fast food restaurant, you're going to be looking at an EUI somewhere between 301 and 171. So your code, when you talk about complying with code, your code compliance value is going to be somewhere in that range. And I'm actually giving a big range because you will never find any of these numbers in a code. Because each building is unique. So I tried to give a significant enough buffer that you'll probably fall between these two numbers. Now, the reason I do that is because this idea of time-dependent valuation. So when we talk about raw EUI data, raw EUI is just core energy. If I'm just going to talk about how many watts or how many kBTUs it takes to operate the building, when you do Title 24 calculations, they put in what they call a Tdv modifier, which is called time-dependent valuation. It takes that total energy and multiplies it by the cost of energy in the project's region. So that's where the number. So if you are doing a laboratory and your engineer gives you, like I'm saying that you should be somewhere between 200 and 120, but your engineer gives you a number that says 3,000, that is going to be your signal that they gave you a time-dependent valuation value. So we're just looking, the point here is we're looking for that raw EUI so that we can make sure that we're comparing apples to apples when we look at all submissions across the board. So as you can see, as the as we move down to different uses, a university, college university is kind of going to be somewhere between 40 and 70. All three of these, as a retail mall, a commercial office, or a high-rise residential, is going to be between 30 and 60. And again, these are your code compliance numbers. Once your engineer is going to give you two values, there's your code compliance or your baseline, and then as it was designed. So your as designed value, if you're providing enough solar on the roof to zero out all of your needs, then your design value is going to be 0. But your design value is going to be less than your baseline value unless you're code equivalent. If you're chasing exactly code equivalent, the numbers are going to be very close to each other. Museum and culture, cultural building or a hotel is going to be between 53 and 30. Education and retail, again, between 23 and 40. I mean, we can come back to this if people have questions. And then for interiors, actually, we're looking for this data both for new buildings and interiors, but for interiors, we're just looking for lighting power density. I think it's much easier for a lot of us in the industry to understand what lighting power density is. And there's 2 ways to measure it. So there's the whole building total wattage. So it's your total wattage of the sum of all of your light fixtures or your lamps divided by your square footage. In this example, 100,000 watts divided by 100,000 square feet is 1 watt per square foot, or a space-by-space analysis. And the space-by-space analysis will be either done by your engineer of record, or if you're working on a project with a lighting consultant or a lighting designer, oftentimes they can do this. They generally don't want to provide official calculations. They prefer the engineer of record, but your lighting designer should be very well versed with providing these calculations. And the space-by-space is saying that, all right, I'm going to only use a half a watt a square foot in corridors, which allows me to use a little bit more wattage in conference rooms or an open office. So that same 100,000 square foot office, you're allowed 1.04 watts per square foot. So the calculation comes out a little bit, it's just two different ways to calculate those numbers. And this is actually just a quick chart of, we're comparing lighting power density to the ASHRAE 90.1 2007 standard. So this is just showing you what the different variables and baselines are going to be for a couple of different project sites, project types. Your job on this, and you can pull these numbers from local code, or you just get them from the, or you can just grab them, get your engineer to pull them for you. You're actually going to see them on the electrical engineering drawings that you can grab the watts per square foot in the baseline and the watts per square foot for design. Last thing we had was, I actually pulled this from the AIA website. It kind of walked through some myths and facts. So I'll kind of go through these. A lot of people think this takes a lot of time. And it really isn't. It doesn't take a lot of time to gather and input data. It's less than maybe 30 minutes per project to gather this information. Some people think it's way too many. It's a lot of resources. And just so you know, the AIA 2030 program is free. You'll wind up joining a network of peers so that you can kind of get the help you need. If you need, usually, you kind of need some help so that you can start to walk. But after that, firms are usually kind of good to do this on their own. You may be concerned that you have poor performing projects in your portfolio. So as I said before, all the data is aggregated and anonymous. You also do not have to achieve the 2030 target. The 2030 target is not a goal. It's more about making progress than meeting a target. The intent is we're improving our work over time, because you can't track You can't improve what you're not tracking. So this is part of that tracking process. And the last one is the project must be complete. And 2030 is a framework that's set to set energy targets early in the design and track progress at each phase. The way I submit projects in our AI 2030 portfolio for Gensler is any project that's active in design or construction gets submitted. And what we usually do is if we don't have a completed energy model yet, we do early energy modeling, even if it's a very high level, what they kind of call box modeling. It's very simple, simplified. Sometimes it might be based off project type or project use, or some very simple parameters. So now that I've gone through that, I mean that's really, and I went through that fairly quickly. Happy to just start to have more of a dialogue with everyone to kind of talk about what your questions and concerns might be.
Thanks, Anthony. So at this point, we are here to answer questions. And I know that there's at least 2 people that would definitely have questions for Anthony. So if you just want to raise your hand or put your question in the chat, Anthony, I'm going to stop your share screen.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Gloria, you want to unmute yourself, or I'll just read the question for you.
Oh, sure. Yep. For executive architect practices, who is responsible for reporting numbers to the GDX? Is it the executive architect or the design architect?
For projects like that, what usually happens is both firms tend to report the work.
Okay, got it.
All right, and next we have Elizabeth Kelly. Elizabeth, can I unmute
Hi.
yourself?
Hi. I just want to make sure that I understood this correctly regarding the Sustainability Action Plan and the Design Awards. Is it enough for these upcoming awards in August, is it enough to create the profile, the firm profile, upload the projects, etc., and then within 6 months finish that sustainable action plan? Or should we have at least like a rough draft or a working draft of that uploaded to the site by the submission deadline?
Now, there is no, the Sustainable Action Plan is not connected to the Design Awards whatsoever. I actually threw that in, and I apologize if that got confusing. But AI 2030's expectation is after you become a signatory, they expect you to create an action plan that will help guide how you're going to implement change across your organization. So the Sustainability Action Plan is not required for upload. It's not connected to the Design Awards whatsoever.
And just a quick follow-up to that,
Sure.
Can one anticipate that it would be a requirement perhaps in the future for future design awards, like if you, or future AIA awards, if you've been a signatory but haven't uploaded an action plan, let's say in 6 months or a year, could that potentially affect submissions?
That's a good question. We hadn't thought that far in advance, to be quite honest, Elizabeth.
Okay, well, thank you so much for answering my question.
Thanks, Elizabeth. All right, who's next? Nobody has left the meeting, so I know you guys have questions. It's okay, I know some of you are probably just looking through things, trying to figure out what your questions are. Does anybody have any questions about the submittable form itself? I know because you can't preview it. If you want me to share my screen to show you what the built one looks like and the unbuilt, just in case some of you are not registered, I can do that. Elizabeth says yes. Sure. Anthony, what do you think?
Sure.
Okay. In the meantime, Jessica just says yes, please. Okay. All right. Maybe this will help clear up some things. It's pretty similar from last year's And just so you guys know, this is the additional form. So once you register, the registration, there's, you know, you don't have to prepare much, send much information over at all. The main thing that we do need are obviously firm name, project name, and then if you, and your type of typology, because your typology and your, if it's built or unbuilt, will decide what kind of additional form that you get. So this one I'm showing you right now is for built, but it's excluding cityscapes and installations. So that's why you only see a smaller amount of typologies here. So you'd select your typology again, and that's so me and Jessica can go in and be like, okay, it matches with the other one. This is correct. They're moving forward correctly. So there's location, project completion date, all this basic information. You know, it's much more detailed for the design awards versus like the residential architecture award. We do ask for all this information. If you don't know this information, you can put NA. It just might be if and when you win, we'll have to ask for it then. And then at that point, it just makes it a little bit hairier for us, just in case like it's getting, because this is where we want all the correct information to live, because this is our database as well. And then we export this information to make sure it's correct for a press release if we need this. So that's why it's important that it's correct here. Keep going. Your photographer, it's important for us to know your photographer name and their email, just so we can make sure that we credit them correctly. And then we just ask for alternative person, just because you never know what happens to the submitter. All right, so now to this.
Corinne, if I can jump in, there's a field, there's an earlier field that asks you for your associate architect. If you do have an associate architect and you want them mentioned in conjunction with the award, please make sure you're putting them in early and you're making sure that they are also a signatory. We don't want to get to the point of the awards and have to not mention someone's name because they're not a signatory.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. All right, so here's the start of the sustainability questions. So basically you say you need to click yes here to continue with the energy questions. If you don't click yes here, you won't see the energy questions. And then based off of what type of project it is below, you will answer different questions. So, but E1, everyone has to answer design for energy narrative. Is this project a new build or a major alteration or interior project only? So for this one, I selected new build. So then you have to answer these questions down to E7. But if you click interior, let's see if I can unclick this for you guys. You'll only have to answer these two questions. Well, let's just keep this selected. And then this is where you upload your proof of signatory and then your proof of DDX. Then you upload your presentation, which everyone has a template for, which is on our website. Here, there's the template, and we've also emailed. We also send it a link to you within your submittable form. Just read the download from Google, and then your images for print and web.
Okay.
All right.
Corinne, Elizabeth has a question about additional signatories.
Hi, yeah. I was looking at the form today, the template that you can download, and they have the signatory from the, like, let's say architect 1, and then below that it says there's a CC option for other associates, other partners, etc. Is it enough to list the associate architect or partner in that CC line? Because it seems like there's only one option to upload the letter, the signed letter on the company page.
There's only one. So what I would suggest for that, if you're, apologies, I've got a barking dog in my background. What I would suggest for that is you're going to do an image capture of your company's page that shows that you're a signatory. You'll do the same image capture of your associate architect's signatory status, and I would combine them into one PDF, and that's your one file that you're going to upload.
So you can have, as an individual, on your individual like dashboard, you can upload your own signed letter. Is that correct?
No, we're not looking for a copy of your signed letter. Like, in order to become a signatory, you have to sign that letter that AI puts a template together for you. We don't need that letter. It's a boilerplate letter. You can put it together and you upload it on your own to the DDX platform to confirm that you're a signatory. We don't need that letter. We just need a snapshot of the screen that says you've completed the process and you're now a signatory. Unless I'm misunderstanding you, Elizabeth.
I guess my confusion is that I'll look at the website again, but I wasn't aware that you, on your personal dashboard, you could upload that letter. I thought it was per firm, basically.
It's per firm. So you completed, sounds like you completed step 1, and now you have to take a look at that that AIA provided video. We'll send you the link to it, and it shows you how to create, or if you already have a firm page, you create or join the firm page. And you can grab that screen capture from the firm page, not the personal page.
Oh, okay. I did that. I created the firm page and uploaded it, signed by the partner architect.
Mm-hmm.
They signed it. One of the partners signed it, and I CC'd where the option was for the other partner. I guess I'm wondering, for an associate architect, that would be someone from a different firm that's helped with the project. So I'd have to get a picture of their firms.
But you would have to get them to get you
Got
a
it.
picture of their firm's cover page, exactly.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, my question.
I have a follow-up question on that. So they might need to upload more than one thing for the signatory or DDX, or can it all be in one? I guess when you guys, if it is more than one thing, just make sure it's all in one document and not multiple documents. That will just make it easier for us.
Yeah.
I might need to clarify that.
Yeah, just combine it in a single PDF.
Yeah, combining in a single PDF would be great, just so people don't have to open up multiple ones. I just want to answer Camille's question really quick. What completion date does the project need to fall within? And it's January, before January 1st, 2018. So that's, so you can always refer to the call for entry for that information. So design awards, built work completed after January 1st, 2018. Sorry, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And then unbuilt work for next LA originating no earlier than January 1st, 2018. Project must be less than 75% through completed construction at the time of judging in September 2021. So just if additional questions on that, just review the call for entry. All right, I think I see another question. Nope. Oh, wait, here we go. Nicole, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, thanks so much. I just have a specific question about Next LA. We have a project that it's a fresh project. We don't have the metrics yet, and we've already started an entry on the DDX platform, but it won't be ready to be submitted yet. So I just wanted to confirm that we should wait till next year to submit to Next LA. Is that
no,
correct?
so yeah, the only requirement for Next LA is that that the firm is or becomes a signatory. You do not have to provide the DDX project specific upload. You can if you want to, but it's not required. At that early stage, I like the fact that you can upload a project like, hey, I started this conceptual project today. I'm going to start a DDX profile today so that we can set a target and get the project moving down the right path. You can submit the DDX, what's in the platform right now if you want to, but it is absolutely not required. We're trying to make the Next LA very simple and just be a signatory.
Okay, thanks so much.
And I missed a couple questions earlier. So James Szerzynski, are you here? Do you want to ask your question?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to clarify if the lighting power density was just a specific requirement to interiors projects, or if building projects would need energy use intensity and that LPD data.
I believe the way we set up submittable is if you're doing a building project, we're asking for both. We're asking for both EUI and LPD. And if it is just an interiors project, you only have to provide LPD.
That's correct.
Got it, thanks.
And then Jessica, you had a quick question that all you need is the screenshot of your confirmation of signatory, not the actual letter.
That's correct.
That's correct. Jessica, did you have any other questions? Nope. Okay.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I didn't have any other questions. Thank you
Okay.
for clarifying that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no
No
problem.
problem, Jessica.
Anybody else? You guys are still on here. Anthony, were there any questions like that we got via email that might help out other people that you guys answered?
I'm trying to think. The
last month.
one standout question I remember us fielding was a concern about client confidentiality.
Right.
I tried to address that in the overall deck. I mean, if anybody has any other questions about client confidentiality, we don't ask our clients for permission to upload our projects to DDX, but we've kind of received enough assurance from AIA, and the platform they set up is robust enough that we are confident that nobody outside of AIA is seeing any information. And again, we put that kind of double layer of, we don't even give the project name, we give it a generic name, we give it a number so we can find it. But confidentiality is not an issue. I mean, that was a very big decision for us. I remember going through it when AIA first started. With the commitment, you actually filled everything out on a spreadsheet. You did all of your data, on your own Excel file in your house, for lack of a better way to describe it. And then what you submitted was just the final number. So they never saw the individual line item data. Now AIA gets the line item data, but they've kind of built in enough security so that nobody outside your firm can see your information.
Yeah, and on that note, when you're uploading it to submittable, the jury does not see the form because the form will say your firm name on it. Like, we will review that information for them.
Yeah, I think the seeing the proof of signatory and seeing the DDX upload confirmation is going to be our way to pre-sort the projects for the jury, that these projects are eligible for honor and these projects are not eligible for honor.
But proof of DDX is required for all of built projects.
It's required for all the built projects. Well, it's required for the built projects if you want to be eligible for an honor status.
No,
No?
no.
Okay. See, even I'm a little, even I make mistakes.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, it's taken, there's all these little steps and we're all like, to make sure we're all on the same page, but no, that was one thing, is everyone in the build has to have that.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other questions? I think that this is something that just in general we should have every year. The one thing I will say is that remind people, keep your questions coming in if they come while I'm talking. But so we're now in the late registration phase, which goes to the end of this week. Technically, it's ending June 11th, Friday, June 11th. So try to register by then. There's always a chance it will get extended, but please make sure to register this week. And then projects and all the submissions are due August 2nd. So you do have ample amount of time, but I'll let you guys know that 2 days before submissions are due, my inbox is constantly full of questions, and we're not gonna be able to get back to you as quickly as if they come in slowly through this month. So that's why we wanted to make sure we give everybody a month and a half, if even longer. If people who have already registered already have the additional form. And so we're just doing that so you guys, get this extra amount of time to complete your submission and make sure you complete these extra steps.
Yeah. I do have a piece of advice. I think one of the first things you should encourage, I don't know if it's project architects in the room listening to us or if everybody's in marketing, once you decide you're going to submit a project, reach out to your engineer immediately to try to grab this information. It might take them a week or so to get back to you. They're not going to be able to get back to you within a single day. So give them enough time so that you're putting together the rest of the submission while you're waiting for them to get their energy metrics back to you.
I think we have another question from James. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Oh yeah, I just I don't know if I caught this earlier, but I know we have like the letter template for the signatory letter that we can sign, at least initially. Are we on like some sort of time frame as far as like presenting a more customized one either before or shortly thereafter submitting the awards or the submissions in August, like in 6 months or something like that, or how does that work?
No, the signatory, the AIA set up the signatory letter as a template. It's just a very simple statement of your commitment. I think the assumption there is that everyone is going to take that and customize it a little bit. You do not have to, you can use it as is, you can customize it as you see fit. You can, once you upload it, you could leave it there forever, or you can say, I'm going to do this quickly for now and I'm going to do another one later. But the only reason you have to do the signatory letter is that's one of those intermittent steps to completing the signatory status.
Gotcha, thanks.
Okay.
I guess I want to just get an idea of people who are on the call right now. If you could use the reaction, how many people are actually registered? I could do a comparison myself, but this would just help. How many people are actually have registered a project now? Or how many people, if you have registered a project, if you could do the thumbs up reaction. Okay, so there's a lot of people who haven't registered yet. And I guess for the people who haven't registered yet, is there any hesitation or anything that we can help you with? Anything else that we can do for you to ensure that this process is not as difficult or as anything that we can help you with? Jessica is asking, the sustainability action plan is not required when uploading everything.
That's right.
That's correct. There's a lot of people who haven't registered yet, so I'm excited to receive your registrations, and shortly after you'll get your submission forms. The sooner you register, the earlier you'll get your submission form. I guess I'll just ask another question. Anthony, you can do the same. Would it be helpful to have a submission clinic in July once you guys are all registered? If there's any additional questions, just give a thumbs up if that's a yes. Okay, so at least 6 people. All right.
And then moving forward from here, what we would love to see happen as a result of this is, a lot of brand new firms becoming signatories of the 2030 commitment. And ideally right now, the projects you're going to register are just going to be projects that you're pursuing for design awards, but the long-term intent when you start getting into this habit of reporting to the AI 2030 commitment is all of your projects for each calendar year you would submit. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And we can probably get into another clinic with, project architects and teams in each of your firms to kind of help you through that process.
We have another good question from Christine. Is reaching the project target in DDX required for an award submission? Christine, you can unmute yourself if you have anything to elaborate.
Hi, Courtney. Thank you for the clinic. It's really helpful. I have this question about, so we are about to submit it to interior project for this award. I was just wondering, because they are all complete project, I wonder like when logging our project energy data in the DDX, is it required for the award to meet the project target, the 2030 target in submission? No?
Not at all.
And will that influence the the chance of winning the award, things like that, taking into consideration?
That is all going to depend on the jury. I've been not a jury member, but I've been an advisor to the jury for the last 2 or 3 years, Corinne, where I sit with the jury while they're reviewing all of the questions. I don't provide any input, and they just simply ask me. And there's someone else who kind of does one of the other award groups, and we break them into groups, what the energy metrics mean. So if there is a project that is teetering, if they're thinking about it one way or the other, they may stop and ask, hey, how did it perform? Was it just compliant with code? Were the numbers really out of whack? So they will ask about it, but it's really up to the jury on how they're going to use that information to make a decision on the awards.
Got it. That answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And on that note, do you want to just maybe mention, just to add a little bit more, why we added these requirements this year instead of the Common App? And I can speak to it as well.
Yeah. So the Common App, AI National has the Code Top 10 Awards, which goes through the Common App and the design, the 10 measures of sustainability. And there are very few projects that kind of touch on all 10 of those metrics, from finance to ecology, energy is a big piece of it, to water, to a lot of other things, to health, to design for disassembly. I know it's not called design for disassembly, but it's that reuse component. So it's very, very few projects actually can impact and influence all of those decisions. And it's really like the top of the sustainability projects that we're kind of looking at. That's why you only see 10 of those a year. So we wanted to take and look at what we thought the most important piece of that was our influence on reducing energy consumption or just increasing building performance. And we want teams to be able to start focusing on that. So we kind of zeroed it in and said, this is what we're going to start with. Future design awards I know because this is something we've been debated for a while, future design awards may start adding more of those design for sustainability features in future awards, but that's kind of down the line. But we felt that the energy improvement was the most important to start with right now. If your project is doing more than just energy performance, if you've got something related to health and wellness, or you've got a really great water story, that first question, one of those earlier questions that Corinne walked through that said, here's a place for you to drop in a narrative, that's where I would encourage you to say, okay, here's not only my story behind what we did for energy performance, but if we did something else, you should drop it in there as well. Is there anything else on that, Corinne?
I don't think so, but I think, yeah, this is just